I'm John Hinwood, and we're going to spend the next 15 minutes looking at how you can bring more miracles into your life. How did I come by this? Well, this picture is actually my first grandson, Flynn, and my wife and I could never have any children, and we went and adopted 3 children from Chile. And then our daughter's husband was in India, so she allowed us the grace of birthing our grandson. So this was our first grandson, and that was just a moment after he was born. Held hold of Mum while I was checking, because I'm a chiropractor, so I had the opportunity to adjust him immediately to make sure he had the best opportunity in life. Now, thinking big is something that a lot of people don't want to do. They think if they do, they might get something and they might not quite be able to handle it. Donald Trump said it takes as much energy to think big as it does to think small. So you may as well use your energy and think big. So once you have something out there you're seeking or you're after, if you really think big, it's amazing what starts to happen, what you set in motion. Now, this video is about somebody who had an action they wanted to perform, and people said, "You can't do it." And he said, "Yes, I can." And this is the outcome. Fastest land animal. It's almost got its tucker here, almost there. And the poor old cheetah says, "What happened?" Now people said, "Yeah, that can't happen," but someone set a goal, they're a big thinker, and then they created something that was different. Now, the first miracle tip in my book, You Can Expect a Miracle, there's 13 tips to miracle making magic, and it says miracles don't necessarily come with a clap of thunder or a flash of lightning. Sometimes they come on tippy toe. So you've got to be out there looking out for them, or you might miss them. Now, a gentleman arrives in heaven, and he is upset. He's very aggro, and he says to St. Peter, "Look, I've arrived, and I've got to see the main man. I've got to see him now. I've got to see him now, because I shouldn't have died." He said, "Well, slow down, what are you upset about?" He said, "Look, I'm a believer. I've always been a believer, and God said he'd save me." And he said, "When the flood came," he said, "I got onto my roof, and he didn't save me. I died." So hang on, he said, "God sent the SCS in a boat, and he told him to go away, because you're going to be saved." And then as the floodwaters rose, it got to the peak of the roof, and he was sitting on the peak of the roof, they sent the Parks Patrol. A fella comes down on a lifeline from a chopper, and you send him away. He said, "I'm going to be saved, go away." Huh? God sent people twice. He sent his men twice to save you, and you sent them away. It doesn't necessarily have to be the way you think it's going to be. It's amazing how things happen. So you've got to be open to receiving miracles. That's me at 3. Now, when I was young, I was exceptionally knock-kneed, and most times when I ran, I fell flat in my face. Well, I remember my parents, I was brought up in Sydney, they took me to Dr. Great Hugh Barry, the famous orthopaedic surgeon. My father was the sporting editor of the Sydney Daily Mirror newspaper. My mother was a business person. And I remember them sitting there, the doctor examines me, and he said, "Look, you need to understand this boy's 3. He's never, ever going to be able to play sport. And, you know, walking could be a trouble as he gets on. What you're going to have to do for the next 2 years, he's going to have to wear splints. You're going to have these splints put on, full leg splints from his crotch to his ankle every night, and wear built-up boots. But listen, he's never going to play sport. You have to understand that right now." And I could just see the look on my father's face at that time, and my mother, but particularly my father. At that point in time, something happened for me, and I developed maybe I can attitude, an FU attitude, whatever it is. And we all have an opportunity in life to develop an attitude. And the attitude is, yes, I can, or no, I can't, or I don't know. But we have an opportunity. Well, I remember at 3 years old, when the great Dr. Hugh Barry made that statement, mine was, yes, I can, and I'll be an Australian champion at some time in the future, in sport. And by the time I was 15, I won the Australian Junior Judo Championship, and then I got a phys ed scholarship and became a phys ed teacher. But from somewhere I told you can't do it, you can make a decision. Also, I was extremely dyslexic, never allowed to go to a high school. Hopeless stutterer till I was 14. And all those things, I made a change. Even now when I speak, I have to think of all my words, put them on the screen of my mind, play them through before they come out of my mouth. Or I'd be stuttering. So you have an opportunity. And the opportunity is always there. Robert Desnos, he was one of the great surrealist poets of the 30s. He was Jewish. He was taken to Auschwitz. Anyone here been to Auschwitz? Wow. Interesting place. My wife and I, in 1971, were locked in there. They closed it off at night at 5 o'clock and they didn't realise we were there. We were there for 3 hours before they came and got us out. Spooky place. Now, Desnos, just before the war ended, was taken away this particular day with a truckload of other young men. And they were being trucked from the barracks down to the gas chamber. They get onto the truck, and Desnos didn't know these people. They were all in different cells. And Desnos said to one young man, "Show me your hand. I'm a palm reader. You are going to be a famous man in the economy of Europe. When the war ends, that's what you'll go and do. Show me your hand." And off he went. And within moments, this truckload of young men who were doomed, they were skeletons, they were going to the gas chamber and saying, "Read my hand, read my hand, read my hand." And the young SS guards who were in charge of this were absolutely bamboozled. They didn't know what happened because they had trucked people day after day to the gas chambers and no one responded. They were dead when they got on the truck. They were so bamboozled, they turned the truck around and took these people back to the barracks and installed them back in the barracks, and they weren't executed. The war ended not long after. Although Desnos died the next year of typhus, those people on that truck became leaders in Europe and in North America after the war. Desnos saw that a miracle could happen by creating a pattern interrupt and having people have a different belief system than the one they got on the truck with. Second miracle. If you continually ask what you really want in life, the funny thing is you often get it. Over the last 24 years, I've handed out over 85,000 Expecting Miracle cards to people in all walks of life wherever I go. And it's amazing what people do for me. I don't ask for anything, I just give them a card. They give me upgrade, they just do all sorts of amazing things. I'm not seeking that, I just want them to have a better life. As well as that, people send me stories, which has meant a website and an online digital radio station through so much stuff that's been fed back to me through people over many years. My wife and I were married for 18 years, never had children. A friend came to stay for Christmas of 1984 and she said, "Alistair and I are adopting a baby from Chile." Do you know, I thought, wow, we've got a great life, we travel a lot, we had one of the biggest practices in Australia in chiropractic, we didn't want for anything. We thought, family would be great. Let's get started. And we travelled extensively through Latin America and all over the world on the off the beaten track for quite a number of years. And Chile, great place. So we went to Chile, did all the paperwork, went to Chile looking for children. We wanted a boy and a girl, maybe 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. That was about it. Not babies, but just a little bit up from that. And by getting the court orders to go to orphanage to look for children, the first orphanage we went to, the Hogar de Menores in Concepcion in southern Chile, we were shown these 2 boys. And we were shown Rodrigo, goodness me, here, and his brother Ignacio. 7.5 and 9, they've been in the orphanage for 5 months. And the women there said, "You have to see these boys, they're not hardened, they've come from the back of nowhere. They're beautiful boys, no one's ever going to adopt them because they're too old." We said, "No, don't show them to us. Don't show them, don't show them." Next thing, they put some water slicks on their hair, brought them in, sat them down. We both burst into tears and knew they were our sons to be. And when you feel love, it focuses you. Doesn't matter what it is, when you feel love in life, it focuses you to where you're heading. It focuses you in the big picture of life. Here we are. Took us 2 weeks. We received the court order. We go to the orphanage at 5 to 5 and said, we'll come for the boys tomorrow. They said, you'll take them now. We said, we don't have anywhere for them to stay, don't have anything else. And that was it. That was 1 hour after we left the orphanage. That's all they left the orphanage with, those clothes on their back. We went out, we bought them a truck. Rod's got his truck in his hand. And we asked them what they wanted. They had 50 words of colloquial Spanish. Totally illiterate, just almost grunted. People in our society who are illiterate have 1,000 words of English minimum. So we go into the Plaza de Armas in Concepcion, Chile's second biggest city, and here's this fantastic jewellers.